Well, I like to say 3 more weeks to go, 3 more weeks and counting, and the free world will get to know who will be their president. Welcome to International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Today is all about the U.S. election and the 1,216 candidates. Yes, and many of you are not aware of it. More than 100 candidates just for just the Oval Office. 1,216. I have to re-emphasize that. Now, it may also interest you to know that the only independent candidate so far in the history of America was George Washington. That's the only one that came out independently. That's only according to history. Yeah. Out of all the democratic years, George Washington is quite unique. Others need to come in through, maybe party and all that, the one that won independently. George Washington. How come Democrats and Republicans are the ones so popular in this election? Globally, you get to hear Democrats, Republicans, the candidates exchanging points, exchanging blows through ideas, debates and all that. Will J. Trump come out tops? What about Biden? Is he going to come out tops? With me here in the studio, I have a political analyst, very vibrant youth. Join me to welcome Steve Overland. Steve, welcome to International Forum.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
Sitting very close to him is a legal practitioner, yet another vibrant youth, Osazua. Welcome to International Forum.
It is always my pleasure.
All right. 3 weeks to go, and we have numerous candidates targeting the Oval Office, but it seems like 2 parties, talking about the candidates of the Republicans and of course Democrats, are just the one making this effort, so to speak, or observable effort that people really appreciate globally to get into the Oval Office. What about the others? Steve, over to you.
Well, basically, you can see the tension already building up to the November 3 election. And you see what is being contested in this 2020 U.S. election is basically a paradigm shift. So what you are saying are the fundamental basis, the underlying foundation of ideology, 2 disparating ideology. One, a culturalist, traditionalist view, while the other one is having a globalist, accommodating view. The Republicans, they are the culturalists, the traditionalists, and the constitutionalists. They follow the norms, the value, as it is laid in black and white. And they want to stick to their tradition. While the Democrats, on the other hand, they have these globalist, accommodative views to say, yes, though we have a culture, but we must conform to the global tradition. Hook, line, and sinker. Whether the Republicans like it or not, we must have our way. Whereas the Republicans are saying, no, we are the Republicans. The Republic of the United States was built upon the founding fathers who believes in the Republic, who are the patriots. We started this mission and we must end it. So that is the contest you are saying. We call it the contest for conquest. So by November, we are going to get the full result of all this heat that is being generated prior to the election.
All right, contest for conquest.
Yes, contest for conquest.
Osazua, what do you say about this? I mean, it's like just 2 parties, they've been there. People are like saying, out of these 2, one must emerge winner. What about others?
Yes, thank you very much. My colleague here could not have said it better. It is paradigm shift. Everything is on the line. When I say everything, I mean everything. Either to chart a new course for mankind, or to cling to the old traditional way, so to speak, the old way of doing things. When let me just put it in context. When Thomas Jefferson, that brilliant man who coined the Declaration of Independence, at that material time, my brother, when he was writing those magnificent works, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, and that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights And among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My brother, when he was coining those very good words, he had slaves at home. So that is the traditionalism they are talking about, the pretense, the pretension that speaks on the face of our Christian belief, the high hypocrisy. So that's what is going to give way. That's what this election is about. If we are to have a world that opens up, like he said, globalism, to everybody, that looks at you and doesn't judge you by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character. Or if it is a thinking that this is our country that was erected upon the pillars of that this nation is white and this nation is Christian. Christian be defined in a way that doesn't even include so many of us here that think we are Christian. If we are to work on that paradigm, on that thinking, that this is our United States, which is the hope of mankind now, the hope of civilization for God's children. If they are to remain the way the Republicans want it to remain, or if we are to open up and say, look, all of God's children are welcome here, that will look at you, not judge you by the altar you worship before, not judge you by the pigmentation of your skin, not judge you by who your parents were or where you are coming from, but by what you can bring to the table, what you can offer. If that are to be the guidepost, the signpost for the future, or if we are to look back like the traditional party, there is a right-wing party today, they call it the traditional party, that traditionalism will not include the black man, will not even include until recently the Catholics. So there are so many things operating in the United States today, and this thing is on the line, and everything, my brother, is on the line. Come on the 3rd of November 2020.
All right now it's like both of you are just going towards opposite direction. You're talking about the American party, the American society, tradition. Is it tradition right now fighting against convention? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I will not really agree with that statement. The tradition basically that is being contested now are their norms and values from their forefathers. If you remember George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, and James Monroe, up to when they had their first Democrat president in the person of Andrew Jackson. That was in 1837. It took 48 years for a change of baton to be given to a Democrat. As at this point in time, their views was being metamorphosed in terms of the absorption of blacks into their society, Hebrews into their society, the Pocahontas, which you call the Red Indians. So they wanted to have a coloration, a chromatographed society. So they came up with a lot of liberal views which will accommodate these various cultures. So that is the epicenter of the birth of the Democratic Party. So from that point on, they've always have these views that negates the traditional views of the Republicans. You understand what I'm saying? So, but from every point in time, you begin to see a metamorphosis from century to century. From the days of Abraham Lincoln, when he had to give the Treaty of Slave Freedom, he was killed for it. He was killed for it, died for it. Down to 1933, when they now had to be compelled to a very critical decision in joining the Allied forces to fight Hitler in the invasion of Great Britain. And this point we have been. So from every generation of leadership, you could find out that it will always emerge to say, are we protecting the statutes, which is our constitution, or we are embracing the general norm, which is the globalist view. But ironically, as you can see, Donald Trump came at a point where globalism has eaten deep into the United States culture and tradition, and it was almost capturing their constitution, where they had to like create accommodation for some certain rules that were not traditionally inscribed in that tradition. And there are some group of people, the evangelicals. The evangelical, which is a very strong base, and the traditionalists, who believe that constitution must always preside any other thinking. And we are at a point where we are at a crossroad. If they don't grab it now, and they lose these 4 years, you can find out that the Democrats will have to make up for the lost grounds, which they have lost under Donald Trump. So it's really a do or die. It's really a do or die. And we are going to see more tensions before the election.
All right, we're going to see more tension before the election. Right now, he's talking about Donald Trump and Republicans doing everything possible to make sure they retain the Oval Office. What do you think may work in favor of Joe?
You mean Joe Biden?
Yes.
As we talk now, as we speak now, everything is working in his favor. Everything. We have a challenger. Since 1936, the kind of pose, the kind of figures he has going for him, they are remarkable, they are legendary and unheard of. So it doesn't need to do much. Trump has to push and push and push, because as we speak now, as of yesterday, 9.1 million Americans have already voted, and your bet is as good as mine who they voted for. So, but Trump is trying to do what he can. All he can. As we talk, my brother, there are possibly thousands of cases in the U.S. courts filed by Republicans and Republican-leaning people. What are they asking for? What are they looking for? Trying to massively disenfranchise Americans. Doing everything they can to ensure that people don't go and vote. That if your ID has expired for the past 6 months and you haven't renewed, your vote will be invalid. That if your signature, there's a variation, the slightest variation in your signature should invalidate should make your vote not to be valid. So many things, so many shenanigans they are going on. What are they afraid of? Because they have realized that nobody can stop change. Like Eric Lato said, he said you cannot step into the same river once. That fresh waters are always pouring upon you. That is change. Change is inevitable. Mankind has evolved and will continue to evolve. The old way of thinking, when you think this is our land, the nativity talk, this is our people, what makes it their land? Before the first white man stepped foot on the American soil, there were Indians there for crying out loud. So what are you now telling me that we are the native? Native of what? They're thinking that this is us. This is us, and this is how we are, and this is how we always be. It's a kind of, it forecloses your thinking. It forecloses even civilization. Civilization would not have come if man has not dared to embrace the unknown. If we have not dared to chart a new course for ourselves, we will still be in the Stone Age. We will still be clinging to our sackcloth and still be eating the stones, trying to get fire from it. We have to move forward, and that's the base of the Democratic Party that bring all to me. Like he say, open up, let them come. Bring me your racial, bring me your weak, bring me your dying. Any how you are, come. It's an open arms. Right. What are you bringing? What can you do? It's not your body. They don't care much about your past. They care very much about your future. What you can offer.
Is that you have so much to say to react to it, because he said that everything is working in favor of Biden.
I disagree with his views. You know why? Because coming to the 2016 general election in the US, Trump was an underdog. Everything worked entirely against him, from the polls to the opinion to even the globalist considerations. Everything worked against him. But there was something that worked for him. At the very point of declaring the result, the Electoral College. One dynamics we don't understand about the US election is that US is not just a democracy per se. The Constitution had made it considerable for a few to decide majority's view, which is the Electoral College. And if you look at the Electoral College, the magnitude of numbers, 306 against 232 to Hillary Clinton in 2016. And you could see that the base has not changed. If you look at opinion polls from the Republican Party, it's 95% support. Then when you are looking at the general polls, you are looking at 52% acceptance level. Yes, I may understand where my colleague is borrowing his views. You know, you have some international news media that have made themselves like an opposition party to the Republican Party being led by Donald Trump. But if we have to follow those results, which also was a synonymous flow from the 2016, we might be making a very big error. You know why? Because when you are looking at the percentage error, it has still remained the same. The map of 2016 has not changed. When we are talking about polls, there are some certain media outfit that will come and tell you that we are looking at the crowd. When you look at the crowd and the volume and the enthusiasm that we are seeing on ground, we don't have to put ourselves in a box where we begin to get opinion.
So what you're saying right now, the Republican hope is on the Electoral College. That's what you're saying right now.
And I believe they are still going to get more of the majority vote this time around.
I will come back to you.
Yeah.
Now, 2016, it happened that majority of Americans, they went out there to vote in mass for Hillary Clinton. By population, by vote count, she won. But with the election organized by the Electoral College, the reverse was the case. Do you see it happening again, 2020? Because that seems to be the fear of Democrats, the Electoral College.
Thank you very much. It is not going to happen based on what we have seen.
But he said nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
And he's making a point there.
I don't know the point you are talking about. The point that Trump has 52%, I don't know where he got that 52%. Trump has stability and popularity has never risen beyond 43%. As we talk now, it's about 42.6%. Even the most conservative news outlet in the US today, OANN and Fox News, they have Trump trailing Biden by over 9.6%. I'm not talking about CNN or BBC or any other one. I'm talking about OANN and Fox News. So I just wonder where he got this 52% from. Let me tell you, going back to 2006, in 2006, yes, before the election, the last poll that came for the election had Hillary leading by about 3%. That was the last one that came out. And if you look at what happened, she won the popular vote by that the same 3%. But in the US, it's not the vote you get that really counts, but where you get those votes from. You might have all the votes from the big cities of New York and California, all those places. And then if you don't go to Montana, if you don't go to Alabama, if you don't go to Mississippi, you might still have to lose. That's what happened. She won. The polls were very right. Before the election, she was leading by about 3%, about 2.something%, and she had about 3 million votes, which was equivalent to the percentage she was leading with. But as I talk to you now, the average polls difference, the poll differential between Biden and Trump is 10.6%.
10.6%.
Hillary never enjoyed anything close to that. When I'm talking, I'm using conservative news outlets. I don't want to talk about what the CNN 16%, what they're talking about. I'm giving you Fox News. Fox News 10.6%. So that is what we have going. So there's no way. Hold on. So there is no way from what we have seen, and then from what is also happening today. At this time, 4 years ago, about 1.2 million Americans have voted, but now we have almost 10 million who have voted because the votes have to get there. And that is why they're in court, like I said, trying to stop everybody from voting. Trying to ensure that people don't vote.
Now, Steve.
Yes.
Talking about popularity figure and the rest of it, from what he said is not favoring Donald Trump as at what happened
according to his own statistics.
Yeah, but we have divergent statistics
according to his own statistics.
Okay.
According to his own statistics.
So what do you think will play out?
You know, there's always been this notion in the U.S. politics that they call silent majority. Because you don't
silent majority
and the vocal minority. Because you see people on TV shouting, that doesn't mean that they make up the majority of the population. Trump has always had his base, and you could see the confidence. I've never seen him so confident, regardless the scandals and every other COVID. You know, he has always been very confident compared to 2016 when he was an underdog. And you can still find out that, just as I repeated before, that the base and the map has not changed. And if you are talking about the loyalty of the Republican Party, it is going to be energized at the point of the inauguration of Amy Barrett into the Supreme Court, because that is what he promised his base in 2016. And once that one is accomplished, you could see a resurgence in his base. And they will even be more, how will I put it, motivated for those marginal views he's talking about. I don't really know where he got his own figures from, the conservative news outfit. You could see once that judge is sworn into the Supreme Court of Scooters, you will see a resurgence. I don't understand. Yeah. You will see a resurgence and a tsunami. You know why? Because Trump is braggadociously swambugous. That is a term I coined for him. Swambugous in terms of when the obstacles tend to be too great to be imagined. That's when you see him have his way. And I believe this time around, from the confidence I'm seeing and from the feelers on ground, you could see his campaign in Florida yesterday. You could see the enthusiasm. It wasn't like that in 2016. And I believe the Electoral College is in his kitty because the map has not changed, just as I repeated earlier. And you can see the patriots. The one thing we fail to realize that the United States is a constitutional republic. The United States is not a democratic state of, it's a constitutional republic that was constituted after the war. In 1750, before the first inauguration of the first president in the person of George Washington, after they fought the British to a standstill, it was the patriots. And that's why you see the Second Amendment is being guarded jealously. And once you can give your base the Second Amendment which he has promised, and what is the whole essence of the Second Amendment? You don't know the fundamentals of the Second Amendment, because we can stay 4 days here to analyze the Second Amendment.
All right.
So
all right.
and that is the joy of the conservative base. All right. Once you give them their Second Amendment, you increase their stake in the Supreme Court. They will be energized.
Okay, now he has brought in the issue of the Supreme Court, and of course the issue of the silent majority and loud minority. Do you see these factors playing out in favor of Trump?
Yes, thank you very much. There's this false notion going on about the silent majority, that there's a kind of Trump voters who, if you call them on the post to ask them, who are you voting for? They will say we are voting for Biden, but on the election date, because they are ashamed to say they are voting for Trump, now that day they will go and vote for Biden. The talk is there. That thinking is there. But let me quickly say something, please. Something very key. He keeps saying that the base has not changed.
Has not changed, yeah. The electoral base, that's the calling.
Yes, has not changed. The only way Trump won the 2016 election was because he was able to make a furrow into the Rust Belt, into Michigan, into Pennsylvania, into Ohio, into Wisconsin. That Rust Belt region that got in the vote. And as I speak now, it trails in Pennsylvania about 10 points. It trails in Wisconsin about 11 points. It trails in Iowa about 3 points. It trails in which other ones again? The Rust Belt region is trailing. The only place is trailing is Ohio, where he's trailing about 2 points. That's the closest he has done, and that's what gave him that victory. So when you say it don't change, I don't know where he got it, where he's getting his facts for, where the figures are coming from. That the base is still there. How can you get those? Those are the swing states. How can you get your way to the presidency without only the swing states? So this talk is there. So when you see this talk about Trump being, there's this way they look at him. But I don't understand that. I don't know. But there's a thinking that he has always carte blanche to do whatever he likes and get away with it. That no matter how much he lies, which he does so often, is also the lies is ultimately going to work for the truth. Okay. That is a kind of angel of light. No matter how much he lies, we of course we know that all liars comes from a certain place. We know where they come from. But that Trump is different. That he was placed there to do what he likes to do, say what he likes to do, to say, and then still get a certain result that will ultimately work.
Maybe you are
hold on. Let him anchor. Let him anchor. Okay. All right. So anchor now.
So the thinking is there, but we have today this election that is coming forth. It's a straight choice between those who think that they are kind of inherently superior to the rest of mankind because of how their skin come up.
Okay.
Or those who professes faith as an instrument of political maneuverings.
All right.
Who are able to use faith Christian faith, which is a personal relationship with God, as a kind of casual, because it's a very emotive subject.
Religion.
Yes, it's a very emotive subject. Those who think they can bifurcate, they can divide, and they can rule. They can set a part of the American people against the other just to further their own thinking and their own votes.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Osazuwa, Barrister Osazuwa. Now, he said the narratives right now, it has changed. He talked about the swing state that Donald Trump is trailing, except for Ohio. You understand that there have been changes. People no longer feel him in this swing state because he was able to break to the swing state. That was the reason why he came out tops in 2016.
First and foremost, I disagree entirely with his statistics because his statistics are not based on fact. We got these figures and these records prior to the 2016 election, and it failed completely. We so much relied on these figures prior to 2016, and it failed, and it's still failing again. You see, one thing about the US politics is so dynamic in such a way that it is based on result. I told you about the silent majority, and if you look at the report card, when you are talking about the character of a man, which politician on earth will you call up now that doesn't have one skeleton in his cupboard? There's none of them. That from their moral ground to even the Trump is talking about is not even how will I quote a practicing Christian to say he's a Christian, but he's not this born again kind of person that will say, okay, he's using religious. No, he's using his message. His message is working well for the base. I am going to do this. I am going to increase employment. I am going to increase our stock. I am going to have, a business deal with NAFTA. I am going to bring China to the negotiating table. I am going to stop the wars in the Middle East. Are you getting what I'm saying? I am going to bring jobs back to the US. Has he done it? If the answer is yes, then the map will not change. And that is what I'm trying to tell him. He relies more on, you open to, I don't want to mention him, you open to some news media today, all you see is just how to denigrate and create as passive words on the person. Politics is not supposed to be played that way. But you see, the good news about his followers and his kind of person that he is going to be remembered, whether you like it or not. It's an enigma. Trump era is an era whereby the world is going to reflect for what he has done and what he did not do. And that is what I'm trying to say in this forum, that the base of Trump will not change. Right. And the voice of the silent majority is as strong as it were before 2016.
Okay, all right. Also, as well, you're going to have the last take on this discussion. Is still maintained because whatever some of the things that he promised, really he has fulfilled. Talk about economy, talk about employment, talk about international relation, moving Israeli capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, trying to broker peace in the Middle East. Don't forget also the deal between UAE, Bahrain. Trump was involved in it. These are what he promised Americans, and according to report, he has delivered. Do you think it will work for him? Briefly, because our time is up.
Please, let's get this right.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that line of arguments said severally, and it is not. It just beats me that it does everything he has promised, he has delivered. I don't know. Trump got to the White House in 2016 on 2 pillars. One of them was that he was going to build the wall, and Mexico was going to pay for it. Have you forgotten? Has he built the wall? Has Mexico paid? Have you asked yourself those questions? But the key thing that what he said he wants to do, he has done it. He also said that he wants to make American economy the greatest in the world. Blah blah. As we talk now, what has happened to the U.S.? Where is the U.S. economy as we talk now? Where is it?
It's a
so let's understand this thing.
Thank you.
Let's understand what it has taken, and let's the truth is always there.
Not to worry.
Changes.
Not to worry. This discussion is a continuum. I'm going to bring both of you here in the studio as time approaches towards the U.S. election. 3 more weeks to go. What do you think will happen? Don't forget the 1,216 candidates or a final push for votes. They are all getting towards one thing: the Oval Office in the United States of America. Gentlemen, I appreciate a wonderful analysis. We're going to continue with this because it's going to be a serious setup because we are watching. Everyone is watching. Will Trump overcome or will Joe Biden become victorious. Bye for now. This is ITV, certainly the best.